Thank you. Okay. This is the regular meeting of the Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission, Tuesday, March 15th, 2022, 6:05 p.m. at the auditorium. We do have a quorum. There are 4 of us. The chair will have to vote. And may I have roll call, please, Sue?
Yes. Jonathan Teagan?
Here.
Ruth Hagan?
Here.
Pat Costa?
Here.
And Sue Hubbard is here.
Thank you. Now, may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Before, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay.
So I think if I do that before a motion
right.
is made,
Okay.
we can proceed. My motion is to delete the following phrases: consideration of whether, and then should be charged. Take that out. And then after Lake Leatherwood City Park, take out all the remaining words. So this would make the first agenda item fees for the use of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood.
Fees, sorry, I want to say it again. Fees for the use.
Of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood.
Okay.
And then for a second agenda item, waivers to fees for the use of athletic fields by Eureka Springs Youth Soccer League. And the third agenda item would be fee structure for the use of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood.
Is that it? Do I have a second so we can discuss it?
I'll second.
Okay. Sue, second. Okay.
Well, I think I get to discuss it first.
Yes or no? That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to discuss it.
It has to be a motion. It has to be an approved motion before we can discuss it. So it
okay.
has to have a second.
That's why I had her second it so we could discuss
So
it.
I'm
Yeah.
just allowing this to proceed.
That's what I meant. I'm
No, I
sorry.
understood that. I understood that.
Yeah, so could you explain it to us, Pat? That'd be great.
Well, it makes it far less complicated than the current way it is framed, in that first we make the decision about if there are to be fees. Then if there are to be fees, then we consider the waiver and we consider the fee structure. So that cleans it up and gives you a good logical sequence. Because as it is, you've presented 3 proposed motions under one business item. And I don't think that would fly with Robert's Rules of Order.
I see what you're saying. I mean, it's different things. Consider fees, yes or no,
Yeah.
and then second thing being exempt, yes or no, and third thing being the waiver.
No, the second thing is
Sorry,
waiver.
second waiver. What was the third? Oh, sorry.
And then the third thing is
Structure.
fee structure.
Fee structure, sorry.
And I would interject, by the way, that there wasn't an intention to make it so convoluted. It's that basically one of these proposed motions would be likely to be. And I've been told in the past that, at least by some of the commissioners, that they like to have proposed motions. You'd prefer not in the future, that's fine as well. But when there's 2 or 3 things that could happen, you have to try to anticipate them. So it's not intended to make it convoluted as much as give suggestions of possible motions.
I don't think we have said since we've had new commissioners that these proposals are just suggestions. People can propose something entirely different
Sure.
and change, make amendments. It's not that we're stuck with those proposals. But we have just found it's easier if something comes up and you're trying to say, oh, I want to support that, and you're trying to come up with the wording. Sometimes it's easier just to have something in front of you.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
it's definitely not and it was never intended to be something that we're, we
No.
have to use that.
Absolutely not.
word.
I disagree in that having proposed motions, first you have the question of who wrote this proposed motion? And is that good procedure? But primarily it is that giving a proposed motion has no option other than to prescribe the process. And I think it limits discussion, it limits thought, and what the agenda is defined as are items of business to be dealt with. So if you want to propose motions, do them somewhere else other than within the agenda, because that's not what the agenda is for. It is for items of business to be attended to.
Pat, are you saying you would rather have it be on a separate sheet of paper? Or, or not have it at all?
I would rather not have it at all. I find it doesn't speak to our trust that we each are reasoning people. Will it speed the process? Well, potentially, yes, it will speed, and it will mute, discussion. It mutes discussion, and we need more discussion.
I agree with you, but I also know that for the most part, we have used these when we've maybe discussed it ahead of time or when it's been a real clear idea of what the wording is. Sometimes I feel like I worry about saying the right words legally and things like that. So I like having someone to help with that. But then again, you're right, should it be in the agenda? Probably not. Maybe it should be just a separate, something we say out loud, something we ask Scott while we're sitting here, we ask each other while we're sitting here. I don't know.
Oh.
I like having someone to double check my words if I'm making a motion. I worry I'm say the wrong thing.
Well, I think we're competent to do that, to help each other with it. I think if you're trying to phrase a motion, I don't think there's any difficulty in one of us being able to come to your assistance with it. So we're a small group. I don't think we have to prescribe what each other says.
We could certainly talk about that at the next workshop.
Good idea.
And
That sounds
you guys can let me know what you want. I can add
Yeah.
them, not add them.
Yeah, because we didn't do them at first, and then we had you do them for some things, and then you just been,
Right.
so, yeah,
But-
we'll discuss it
Yeah.
That
at
sounds
the workshop.
Good.
We can discuss it. I did know it kind of broke up the meeting, though, because it took Dave a while to get the right amendment down on paper if you're starting from scratch. And the same what happened to me, so we had to repeat things.
It was nice having a written thing prepared,
Yeah.
especially for, like I said, for clear-cut things that we knew. Maybe this wasn't so clear-cut, but sometimes they are. It is to us, because we had the workshop, we knew it was discussed at the workshop. We could all vote differently than we discussed at the workshop, of course, we know that. We could discuss it.
And the other thing it will do is it will perhaps encourage the commissioners to actually study the agenda a bit and frame what they want to do when they're here together.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So are y'all, any other questions, discussion about this motion of Pat's to change the wording on the agenda?
No.
Okay,
I think we vote on it.
yeah. I'm trying to think, I forget that I've got to vote, so I'm saying, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. So, the motion we just passed was to create a different agenda than we have. So
It has all the same elements.
do I need to make, do we need to have a separate motion to approve that agenda? Or was that motion just to,
No,
I think that was,
it's included.
okay. And we have no old business, okay. So, public comments, I guess, would be next. Do we have anybody for public comments down there?
See if I can find my eyeballs. First of all, before I get my 3 minutes, I want to say thank you to all of you for serving. I know that this is not easy. I know that when I go home to my partner every night, every now and then he looks at me with that look like, oh God, what's she going to tell me now? And that's how relationships work. So a couple things. I was able to watch your workshop over the weekend, and I really want to be supportive of not putting the cart before the horse. And what I hear from the commission is that you guys are working on trying to find out all these elements about Leatherwood. And when you have the elements, you will go forth with a master plan. Your tax is predicated on you having an approved Lake Leatherwood master plan, which doesn't exist anymore. It's all changed over the years. It's never been amended, updated, voted on, nothing. So I want to encourage you to slow down the river, maintain what we have while you're gathering information, and then formulate a plan that will then come in front of the citizens for as long as you think necessary. 8 months, 2 months, 16 meetings, I don't care. Fayetteville just is now doing their parks deal, and they are having 3 major public hearings on their proposed plans. They're not even putting the plan together for a year. All they did was bring all these elements to the table and say, we could do this, this, and this, and they've invited the community to look at it, review it, bring their comments. We are such a small town. There is no reason why we are not doing this. And when we feel excluded, the more exclusion happens, the more isolated we become. So I want to encourage you to not go so fast, because I see that in your budget, you guys are taking $144,000 out of reserves because your operating costs are over $900,000, which is inconceivable. 10 years ago, that Parks had a budget past $50,000. Parks has doubled, quadrupled, and grown. So I want to ask the question, what is success? Because for each of us, it's a different thing in our own world. Some of you may have success by making a lot of money. Some of you may have success by raising healthy children. Some of you may have success from having fabulous friends and family. I don't know. For each of us, it's different. But how do we gauge success at Leatherwood? That should be more important than, is Leatherwood going to do enough events to bring in money, to make money to cover the bills, to blah, blah, blah. You know, there's that old joke about the guy who, they asked the guy, hey, you know, if you started fishing more, you could get more boats. And if you had more boats, you could catch more fish, and you could sell more fish and make more money. And the guy said, for what? I'm happy with my one boat. And so my question with Leatherwood is sort of the same thing. We started Leatherwood with a tax to support our kids and our locals to have a place to be. I don't think anybody in the beginning envisioned that it would become a place of such tourism that it would preclude us taking care of it, and it would preclude us defining success for ourselves in that we kept a place pristine in our lifetime and for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Chairman's comments. I just want to, well, they're not all here tonight, but remind us all that we have a lot of work to do, and all the time, I want us to remember to be constructive as commissioners. I hear a lot of comments at Sparky's because I see the public a lot there about how, in years past, parks didn't always get things done. Well, now they're seeing us get things done. I just want to keep that up. That's all. I think we've been doing fine. I want to keep us on a constructive pathway and remind ourselves that I think the public appreciates it. Okay. Scott, you want to give us a director's report?
Yes, just want to report that the work at Magnetic Spring is picked back up again. Some concrete was poured. Unfortunately, it was then vandalized and had to be re-poured. That was done today. I've got somebody stationed out there right now, paying good money to have somebody sit there and make sure somebody doesn't come up and vandalize the concrete again. The stairs are being worked on, or were being worked on today, and then I hope that project will be completed in its entirety in the next few weeks. Crescent Spring, I've talked to engineers about getting the walls engineered. As you might recall, we had one stone wall that came tumbling down. Another one is tilting very badly. Commissioner Rulli had indicated we should get that engineered, and unfortunately, these days, architects and engineers are so far behind that it will be weeks, if not months, before we can get the engineering done. Harding Spring, I'm told by Department of Public Works that within the next week or two, they should have the culvert repaired there, and then we can start repairing our garden. The greenhouse is full of seedlings, a lot of native plants that we got from the master naturalists in Fayetteville, and we'll be planting more. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be meeting a group at 10 o'clock to do some more planting. Finally, the auction is finally underway. It's online. It's govdeals.com in case anybody wants to buy a dump truck or other such things. And actually looking at the preliminary numbers, I'm really pleased with some of the bids that we have so far. Usually it's the last day where you see an exponential rise in the bids, but I'm very happy to see some of the numbers that I'm seeing already, even though I expect them to get much better. And that's all I have to report this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sad to hear about the vandalism on the concrete and that we're having to have someone babysit it, but
Yeah.
I don't know why people think that putting their footprints in concrete is okay, but apparently some people think it is. Okay. Do we have any committee reports? I don't think so, do we? Finance Committee? Excuse me. About to sneeze. I guess that's it. It is a short one, huh? So, new business. The agenda as amended to make motions about the 3 different issues here.
Ruth, I have it printed out here if you want to see the other
Okay.
line.
Goodness, choked on a cough drop. Not good. Thank you. Okay. So, the new business agenda now reads, 1, fees for the use of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood. 2, waivers to fees for the use of athletic fields by Eureka Springs Youth Soccer League. And 3, fee structure for the use of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood. So,
2 and 3 would be contingent upon 1 actually
Yes.
having fees go through, right?
right.
Yeah, and I have a question about, the proposed motion says no fees be charged, but do we need that motion? I mean, if we're not charging fees, we're not changing anything, so do we need a motion to say that?
Well,
I would think if people want to go ahead with the reverse, then we would need a motion.
Sue, if I may, you don't make negative motions.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, we're not doing that now. I mean, we're not saying that, if no fee is scheduled, no fee is scheduled now. You know, there is no fee at the present time. So so the first item on the agenda would be effectively whether to keep things as they are or to establish a fee. So the first item is fees.
Yes, yeah, no, I understand that.
Okay.
Okay, so unless someone's going to make a motion to charge fees for the use of the athletic fields? Do I understand that you don't want to make a motion to charge fees of the athletic fields? I think that's correct.
That's my intention.
Okay. So then move on to the second item. Waivers to fees for the use of athletic fields, well, it's not necessary because there are no fees, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
So now-
everything else is mooted now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
Okay. The fee structure is just for the athletic fields, right? Okay.
Yes, I would remind the commission that the reason this came up is that the Parks Manual requires that all fees be set by the commission, not by the director. And last year, we addressed most of the fee issues, but this one was left undecided. And we had talked that it would come back, so.
Well, I feel like there should be something that, I mean, we're saying that they're grandfathered in, they just don't pay fees because they never have, or do we say there's no policy to collect fees, or do we actually say that there should be a policy that we don't collect fees? I know you say we don't do a negative motion, but shouldn't there be something that we say we don't collect fees on the athletic fields?
Well, the fact that no fees have been established
That's
tells
fine.
the director
Okay,
in the future that if anybody wants to use the fields for an athletic event, there won't be any fees charged for that.
okay,
And that's all that's required.
okay. It seemed to me it ought to state that somewhere, but maybe I'm just being too nitpicky. Like, I guess not. All right, anything else to discuss in the,
Well, just as a point of order, I understand what Commissioner Costner said about no negative motions, but a motion that would establish that there will be no fees charged for the use of the ball fields, even if it was
Okay.
characterized something like for organized athletic events, because there may be times that we want to, like for instance, in the past when there's been bike events, for instance, and they tie up that field.
yeah, Fat Tire has used that field before.
So
I feel like there needs to be something said, like whether a resolution, it's not really an ordinance, it's not a,
Well, it could, just the rules and regs for the park. I mean, the rules and regulations for the park, which I think would be, certainly something that you would draft and the commission would approve.
well, we have a rate chart that I have up on my bulletin board, and right now it states nothing as to use of the ball fields. We've covered just about everything else. So I'll certainly put on there just so people know if somebody calls in and asks our clerk, what's the fee for such and such, then he checks that. And I'll certainly put it on there so he knows that there's not a fee.
I think there needs to be said that there's no fee for the ball fields for, I almost feel like we do need a motion to make a resolution or something for that.
Well, I would propose a motion, but I'd rather not.
I move that no fee is charged for the use of the Lake Leatherwood City Park ball fields.
The thing is, we've already approved the agenda as it is, so I think we have to vote on it if we approve it if we add if we amend it again, that's all we have to do, is we have to vote on it.
So,
I'm a little confused.
But
I am too.
I am too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my take is we all kind of agree that we shouldn't be charging the soccer fields and, if there's baseball or softball. I think the question is if there are some other activities where maybe we do want to charge. But if you have an event like Fat Tie and you're charging a per person fee, would that really make a difference whether the ball fields are included in that or not?
Not the per person, but the group. Like if the group uses, in the past when Fat Tire has used the ball fields as well as the other things, they've paid to set up their tents down there as part of the,
Would it be in that event, right?
and part of their event fee they paid or whatever.
As an example, somebody once asked about having a musical event down there. It never happened. First of all, that sort of event would come to the commission for approval. But if there was something like that, a fee for that would be charged at this time. As I had indicated, something along the lines of if the commission were to state that there were no fees to be charged for organized athletic events, for instance, that gives us what those constraints are. It still leaves the door open for fees to be set by the commission in the future if there was something. Again, that musical event is a good example of things that could come up out of the blue, where maybe we do want to charge a fee, but to state for organized athletic events, I'm not aware of anything in Robert's Rules of Orders that would preclude that sort of a motion. It's just defining what types of events we will not be charging fees for.
well, organized athletic events. Can you,
Like the soccer.
Yeah, but,
well,
Like usage of the field as it is
but
built.
Fat Tie would be an organized
Yes.
event. It's athletic.
yes.
But we would presumably charge other fees for that, for the event itself.
Yeah.
Right, they pay event fees. They wouldn't be
Right.
specifically paying for
That's
that.
usually a
So-
per person event,
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't
our fee.
Yeah.
And I almost feel too like under new business of the new agenda where it says fee structure for the use of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood, that would still cover a motion about fee structure without having to amend this amended agenda. That third item states fee structure for the use of athletic fields at Lake Leatherwood. Under that new business, someone could make a motion, say the fee structure for the use of athletic fields by youth soccer events or whatever, however you want to say it. That would be the place I would think to make a motion, because it is a fee structure question. Do you all agree with me? No? Yes?
Well, I think we have to say that we are charging a fee somewhere before we can set a fee schedule.
What I'm saying is, though, is under that heading is a
Right.
place where you could say, unless y'all want to amend the agenda to add, because I do feel like it's important we say something to the effect that no fees will be charged at Lake Leatherwood for the,
I don't think the agenda can be amended at this point.
I don't think so either.
Motions that have
Yeah, I agree.
made and
I
passed.
agree. So
So-
the motion you tried to make, you have to take back. You already did that, right?
Can I interject here? Y'all are on the same page, you're just not finding the words with each other.
Yeah, we just want to make...
Yes.
I hear it, I'm out here hearing it. So there's no fee structure for our locally involved programs, sports and athletics for recreational use. That's what you're saying, whether it be soccer, because you don't charge for the bike trails, you don't charge people to ride the bike trails, they only charge for the shuttle and to come get their bike up there, right?
That is correct, at least for
Right.
now.
For now. So all of those things are free things, and so if you put them on a list, then you have to account for them. If they're not on the list, then they have nothing to do with it. So Pat is right in saying, if we don't pass the motion, there's nothing to be passed, and it all stays the same. If you decide to do a fee structure, you're doing fee structures for specific events occupying time in various places. That's what you want, is a fee structure for, if somebody wanted to do a music festival on the soccer field, you'd want to charge them for that.
Yes.
But you're not going to charge kids to go out there and play soccer like they're packed out there tonight.
Pat, I don't want to get us in trouble with the
Trouble?
public I'm going to watch the time while you're speaking. I'm pretending it's another public comment, okay?
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
What I'd like to suggest is we leave it as is. I think we're all agreed we don't want to charge the youth athletic events.
Yeah.
And we can readdress it. Maybe, Scott, if you come up with some wording that will cover some of the other events you're concerned about, we can address that in the future.
How about just specifically do the one for like Leatherwood, ball fields, and soccer? Come up with the wording for it that we should put into the rules and regulations or into your thing you said people call about. Okay?
I will modify the rate chart for our fees
Okay.
and see if we can get the commission's approval for that. And that will include that there will be no fees charged for
Okay.
local athletic events.
Can that wait till the next meeting, or do you need us to call a special meeting between now and then to approve it?
We don't need a special meeting
Okay.
for that. That's
Okay.
been, this has been undone for many years.
So long, yes,
Yeah.
that's fine, okay.
Another few weeks won't matter.
Okay. Okay, anything else? I don't believe there's anything else. Commissioner comments are about it. Oh, approve the minutes, that's right, we put them at the bottom. We need to, well, on this agenda, it says commissioner comments first. Let's do commissioner comments first. Jonathan, anything?
I don't really have any comments right now.
Okay. Sue?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I know this came up at the workshop, but I think more people maybe listen to the recording for the workshop. And it wasn't picked up by the press, but Scott had briefly mentioned that we had gotten a grant to do sort of watershed assessment at Lake Leatherwood. And I think this is a really great thing that we'll be doing this assessment, so I just want to kind of put it out there because I think it's something we should let the public know about. It's a really good thing. And that also that they should be aware, you know, it's going to be a while before it starts, but if they do see things going on, they know that this assessment is happening. We've got a large grant, but it was 350,000, something like that.
Something like, it was a few hundred
Yeah.
thousand.
And it's going to take several years, but it's going to be a comprehensive assessment of the Lake Leathershed watershed. So,
Perhaps what I could do is bring copies for everyone. I think I sent copies out to at least
the
all the
commissioners
commissioners.
have it, yeah.
But at our next workshop, we can outline it a little more in detail as far as what it involves.
Yeah, or maybe just putting it in your blog
Okay.
would be a good thing.
That would be
No, I mean, not the attachment,
pages and
but
pages.
not the whole
it's-
attachment, but
yeah.
a description, a brief description.
And
of it.
it's
Yeah.
tough to explain, but in a few words.
Yeah.
But I would also want to caution that the technical status of it is, it's a federal program, federal dollars, that's managed by the state. The state has approved us, so it's subject to funding by the EPA. I'm also told the EPA has never not funded it. In other words, it's part of their normal budget, but it does need to be approved, not just for us, but the program itself, but that it's never not been. So it's one of those things that
Kind of-
we don't want to count our chickens
Oh,
before
okay,
they
okay,
hatch,
okay.
but we've been informed that
They'll probably hatch.
that we have been approved by the state. Yes. And I'll go ahead and create a summary of that for the next workshop.
Okay. Pat?
I think I want to say this, which is an uninformed or ill-informed public, especially in Eureka Springs, is a public that will complain. The way to avoid complaints is to inform, often, well, and thoroughly. And I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. So, you know, I know Scott's caught some flack over a couple of projects. The most recent one is I think, at Ellis Grade. And there was nothing in your list that you gave us at one workshop which said the work that was going to be carried out in February and March, it wasn't in there. I mean, it came as a surprise to me, and so it came as a surprise to the public in general as well. And I believe they have a right to be offended when they're not told that some of the things that they have been accustomed to looking at for years will undergo a radical change. So I would ask that we give careful attention to keeping people posted on what Parks is doing and what Parks plans to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, now we can approve the minutes?
If I may,
I'm sorry.
I didn't know what minutes we were approving.
They were attached to the agenda.
Oh, maybe I missed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were attachment to it.
Thank you.
That's very simple.
Sorry about that.
Do you need to read them first, or?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 3rd, 2022?
Motion to approve.
That's Pat. Have a second?
Second.
Jonathan? All in favor, or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Minutes are approved. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Jonathan?
Second?
Pat, second. In discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. We're adjourned.
This was the most efficient meeting we've had, so I urge